Questions for beginners is what is the different cuts between the vitolas? And first, explain vitola. What is a vitola? I was today years old when I first heard that term, vitola.
So it's just a Spanish meaning. When the Cubans were rolling cigars, they call them vitolas, and all it is the different shapes, the different sizes, ring gauges on your cigar. So, you know, you have fatter cigars, you have smaller cigars, you have thinner cigars, you have torpedo shaped cigars. So it's just a mixture, and that meaning is literally just the shape of your cigar.
Size matter.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's important to know the size, especially
yeah,
when it comes to the cutters. You want to be sure that you have the right cutter for the cigar that you're smoking.
yeah, it is correct. Because there's some big ring gauges out there that are 80 plus, and your typical cutters will not cut those. So you got to come up with either an ingenious way to do it, or you just got to get a big cutter, and they're out there.
No, I mean I've seen a
Yeah.
cigar damn near this long yesterday.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, and it was round. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do with that? Is that even legal to smoke? I'm like, you're gonna start off in the morning with coffee on that smoke, and then you're gonna have lunch with that smoke, and you're gonna have dinner with that smoke, and you're gonna go to bed with that smoke. And
Yeah,
if you ain't
pretty
think
much.
like me, you might wake up again the next morning and repeat the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
a
lot
deep
of smoke.
smoke. Hmm.
Have you ever seen anyone smoke something that size?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple out there that are probably about a yard long, and they're special cigars, but they're out there, and I've seen some people smoke them 6.5 hour smokes. So but that's also with the vitolas. You got to kind of figure out what size works best for you and the smoking time you have.
I guarantee it would take me more than six and a
Oh,
half hours to smoke that cigar.
3 days probably. Just have to
Yeah.
pace it out.
So there's different cuts.
Yes. So, when you're beginning into cigars, a lot of people tend to go to like the flavored cigars. So it's going to have a sweeter tip. So with the sweeter tips, like this Sweet Jane Dominicana, it's a sweeter tip. So you want to not really cut the cap on it. So they have what's called a punch cut. I don't really see it, but it's a little hole. So it doesn't break the cap and you still get that sweetness with it. You're going to
I
do that
didn't
with,
know that.
yeah,
So
the sweet Janes, your Javas, anything that's flavored that's going to have that sweetness on that cap, you don't want to break it because then you lose that
The
sweetness and
flavor.
you're cutting literally when you're cutting a cigar, you're cutting the cap off. But with this, it keeps the cap intact.
And you can taste the difference.
Yeah.
Me that I smoke the sweet ones, I do prefer the punch over a straight cut.
now, is there anywhere when you do the punch, and especially you put the punch and then you start to get the little bit of the cap that peels and get into your mouth? Is there
Hmm.
any way to prevent that, or is it just I'm using bad technique?
It's not really a bad technique. It could be the way the cigar was rolled, but sometimes that happens, and it could be a dull cut that you have on your cutter, or like I said, it could just be the way the cigar was wrapped. But usually, if you want to, you can try to moisten it up a little. Just kind of like put it in your mouth, roll it around, kind of get it moist before you cut it, and then you cut it. It should help uh, stop that serrated
Yeah,
edges
those
and
little
the
extras.
tobacco kind of going into your mouth.
So if you're new in the cigar world and you hear somebody say, "Let me see your punch," this is
Hmm.
what they're talking about. They're not talking about punching someone.
No.
It's the little small round thing that they stick on the end of insert into the cigar so you'll be able to smoke it.
Yeah.
And let's go with the V cut. One of my favorite cuts. Actually, I V everything. I
Yeah.
didn't know no better. It don't matter
So,
what it is, throwing a V cut on there.
so like when you're doing a V cut, literally what it's doing is you're making a big gash in the cap of it, which is going to enhance the flow, but also kind of filter it because it's not a full flow like the straight cut. So it's just our guillotine cut. So it's just a kind of a filtered flow. It's still a heavy flow, but it's a filtered flow, so you get more of the flavor of it. And those you can literally cut any cigar with a V cut, especially like you say, you have your torpedoes, you kind of the end of the torpedo on it, or even your piggies. Those are going to be good. Vitolas the cut with the V cut. It's going to help enhance the flavor. But literally, V cut's my favorite. And if you ever want to be kind of spontaneous with the V cut, if you do it both ways, it's called a crown cut or a cross cut or an X cut.
Oh.
That's even more flavor than out of that.
Oh, okay. But you don't want to cut a sweet cigar with a V cut.
No, it'll cut off the sweet tip, and that's not what you really want. You want that flavor because that's how they built that cigar.
A lot of the flavor stays in the cap with the sweet one, so every time you inhale, you're getting the sweetness. So if you cut it off, then you pretty much lost the flavor.
Yeah.
Never knew. I'm learning. And then the guillotine, the straight cut.
Oh, can I tell him the trick that we learned?
Yeah.
Okay. So as soon as he got into cigars, I'm that partner, I'm that wife that was like, cool, let me research everything so I can help him out. So with the straight cut, so you don't cut off too much of the tip of the cigar, you can just place the cutter on the table and put your cigar in and cut it like that. It's a good like beginner measure. So you're not cutting too much of it off, because I know I probably would have cut off a huge chunk of a cigar the first time
I chop it all off though. Oh, here it goes.
That was just a cool little trick that we learned. Yes. And he tells everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I need to practice that one.
Yeah, so just like she said, you just get your straight cut. So this one has all three. Look, it has the straight cut, the V cut, and then it got some punchers. A good tool, just so you can have if you want to try out different cuts. But literally, you're going to place this on the table, like she said, cut it, and it's going to take exactly the right amount off, so you're not getting all the tobacco in your mouth as well. It helps prevent that.
So what would one of those retail at? Estimate retail for one of those?
Honestly, it depends on your flavor. If you're a brand person, you can find one for $80. Or if you really just want to go on Amazon and try it out because you really don't know if it's for you, you can probably pick one up for about $25. And it's all the same thing, but except the higher end ones usually come with a lifetime warranty. So if anything happens, you send it back and they'll send you a new one.
So as a new beginner to the cigar world, you definitely want to invest into a punch and a cutter.
Yes.
You don't have to keep asking people in the store, can I borrow your punch and cutter?
Well, most good cigar lounges will have them readily available.
They will have, but if you have spoken among friends or something, most of them will cut. Yeah, typically they'll cut it before they and help you light it before when they give it to you. Mm-hmm. But you gotta have a cut. If you out trying to experiment by yourself in your garage, you cannot smoke the cigar without punching it or cutting it, whether that be V cut or a straight guillotine cut.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
While we on this, I'm curious. Have you ever tried dipping the cigar? Now, when I was in Cuba, they recommended a technique if you got like a bitter cigar of dipping the tip in honey and smoking.
I've never tried that, but I have tried dipping the cap in whiskey.
And I heard of that too.
Yeah, it does bring out a little bit more flavor, especially if your cigar is supposed to be paired with a whiskey. It just brings it out a little more.
So basically, you cut it? You cut it first and then just dip the tip slightly into.
You can, but I usually just kind of stir it in before, because just to get the wet, because it's just gonna hold the moisture on it.
So you dip it before you cut it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's Arnold's way. If Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's the way he smokes his cigars. He dips it before he smokes it. Every cigar he does.
Now, we promised